And boom, boom, boom. It is, I think, a Thursday. Sources inform me. It is the EuroAsia Stand-Up or Scrum. I'm kind of like I'm having like a you know.
I would go for stand-up nowadays. I would.
Yeah, it's funny. You see, I've been influenced by this whole makers thing, and it's sort of saying, although of course, you know, like we've got Scrum, you know, all whispered throughout. It's what's the word? It's entangled throughout the site. I don't know. And name change. Is that things that pop stars do? Are we pop stars? No, it's clearly.
Well, of course we are.
Well, I am learning the electric guitar, but I got an electric guitar for Christmas. Sorry, right. Onto the point. Let's start with you, Thomas, because I think that's where we should start. Yes, Thomas, how are things going with you?
Well, on my side, I got a word back from the Unify project people, and we posted their initial thoughts. I just got a document, you know, in I think it was MS Word or some other shitty format. So I just pasted it into the website.
I'm just looking at it. Yeah.
I'm just updating the formatting because it was a little messed up. But so actually, you know, to be honest, I haven't had too much time to review this yet. So I'm in the process. Just before the stand-up, I started to read this document, and the idea is now that I try to get acquainted with what they want. If there's a need from my side for some clarification, I'll just contact the client. But the next step for me is to call to some sort of initial meeting with the parties interested from Major Ventures, basically, you know? And just have an initial, you know, discussion, and then we can set up, you know, perhaps there are some, you know, decisions to be made whether we want to do this or people want to join a team or stuff like that. And then after that, we can invite the client and talk to them, basically. So that's the plan for now, I would say.
Right. And so
this project description is like, you know, very vague from what I'm seeing so far.
Yeah. I mean, I think I can infer from it. So I've just been skimming it as we're talking. And so this is the Refugee Tech Project, and this group Unity, are they an existing group that's working with refugees, or what's can you just like very quickly summarize what this organization who's generated this project description is?
So they are a registered nonprofit here in Sweden,
right?
And it's a group of 6-7 people that are basically activists. They are young students, and it's a mixture of ethnic Swedes with some, you know, new Swedes, as we call them, which is a very touchy term, but anyway. And they have this idea, you know, they're in their early or mid-20s, so they're like current students or alumnus, recent, you know, graduates,
right,
filled with this kind of a childish anger that, you know, life is unfair to people.
Well, and I mean, it's childhood and anger that's totally valid, but often associated with children.
Yes, but it is valid. I mean, they are right on the spot with certain, you know, assertions that they make about the world, and I think they have a lot of enthusiasm. They have a lot of time on their hands, I guess, and so they wanted to be a part of the solution somehow, you know.
And they're called Unity is the name of their group.
Unify.
Sorry, yeah.
Unify.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Unify. So basically, you know, what they want. I mean, these are non-technical people, although I know that some of the members are currently studying computer science at the Gothenburg University or Chalmers here. But so they are not completely, you know, unaware of terms like Agile, Scrum, and things like that on the project management level, although they are not programmers, they are not developers.
Right.
So basically what they want to do is they were searching for a partner, and there are several initiatives here in Gothenburg and in Sweden, you know, working with you know, solving this integration problem or mental problem or whatever, you know, refugee related situation with software, you know, to automate things or make it easier for people to connect to each other and stuff like that. There's a lot of, you know, Facebook groups. There are some meetups. There's a meetup in Malmö today that we participate with one of our students and stuff like that, right? So, but they have this idea for an online platform, and they were looking for developers, and they cannot do it themselves. So that's why they approached this third stakeholder, which is Pinya Group. It's a company that I know of, and they know me, and so they approached me because they don't have developers to spare for a non-profit project. So they approached me and said, "Look, we think this is funny because it's a good thing, but we don't have resources enough. But we can provide like a project manager or something, you know." And so I said, well, you know, because they asked me initially about the graphic design student, and I said, well, that's not the best idea, but let me connect you with other ventures. And here we are. So we had this first meeting. They were like really excited about meeting some people that could provide not only software developers, but also some know-how about how to run projects and you know, bring some order into there. I mean, they have lots of ideas, but there's a bit of chaos in their heads and stuff, you know.
Are they actually doing something, like they want to do something with refugees, or they're already doing some activities with refugees?
They have some activities, like they have been physically out to the refugee camps that we have here, and so which is like a traumatic experience for everybody involved, because these camps are like, you know, it's really bad. So these young kids, of course, or sorry if I sound patronizing, but you know, these young people, of course, when they see those conditions,
they want to make a difference. They want to
they want to make a difference,
which is great. Okay, right. But so they're not currently, they've kind of been investigating the situation, but they're not currently running like a delivery of food or you know.
I think they've been involved in stuff like that.
Okay, so they've kind of been volunteering.
Yeah,
you know, been involved in
But this is another step. You know, they feel that we can do so much, but how about, you know, a software platform, because then we can leverage on the blah 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 thing and stuff like that.
Okay.
So this is a completely new thing for them. You know, it's like an idea they've had, and but this is new, basically.
Yes. So it's interesting. I mean, I think with that information, and then with this, I can sort of, I mean, although, I mean, they're doing what, I mean, it really reminds me of, there's like this group called the Social Getwork who pitched at the Charity Jamboree a couple of times, and that's a couple of people out in California, and they're basically wanting to do like a version of Facebook that is all about helping people get jobs. And you know, the pitch ends up being a lot about kind of what they think parts of the online experience should be, and like emphasizing things like, oh, it needs to be, you know, Facebook and Google login, or this, that, and the other, and all the information that people need to put in order for it to work. And I think that you know, that's all well and good, and that's the sort of the headspace that they're in. But in terms of, you know, actually building something that people will use, and sort of boiling down to what's the key feature that you might actually deliver that will actually make a difference, and actually, you know, maybe it's something that needs to be integrated within an existing framework like Facebook in order for it to be really effective. Yeah, there's a whole another thing. But what I see from this is that they're kind of, it looks like they're trying to do is they want to have a thing where that the refugees can kind of be, you know, indicate how long they've been in Sweden and help. I think they want to kind of match people up, right? They want to match people in Sweden with people who've just arrived in Sweden and try. It's interesting actually, because there's a group here in Harrow who've just done a similar sort of thing called like a welcome, like it's Welcome to Harrow group, which is, I mean, you know, there is some overlap there actually, now that I think about it.
There is another project here in Sweden which is quite fun. I think it's like eat dinner with a refugee, or eat dinner with a Swede, you know, and that's an amazing. I mean, it's a fun little initiative, you know, to actually, you know, invite people to your home, and invite them for dinner, because see, I'm a strong believer in face-to-face or interpersonal, you know, communication, because that builds networks, and then you can learn as a person. So I think that's, you know, so this could, but you know, I've read through this, and they're jumping back and forth between high level and low level, you know, stuff. But it's completely okay, you know, at this point. But you know, I can envision if we just assume that there are no social networks in the world, right? Sure. For a second, then this could, of course, become a platform where you can kind of, you know, match people together, but you can also promote events like meetups, or the invite people to your house, or there is this refugee welcome initiative here in Sweden where you can say that I have a spare room, why instead of having it empty, somebody could live there instead of a refugee camp and things. So this could be potentially a platform with a lot of activities, but that is impossible to in today's world. I think one should try to narrow it down somehow and scope it down to perhaps matchmaking. And I told them that when we met, that I would say, to make an impact, I would say keep it as narrow as possible. I would say, but that's my idea. I don't know. I would say I had this idea about getting people, since I'm interested in computer science and software development. I would say let's take the Swedish programmers and connect them with technically interested or programmers wannabes from Syria, right? That could be a very narrow thing, and I think that could potentially fly. If you want to build, if you want to change the world with very broad stuff, I would say that's a no-go on my side, at least. I would say.
Oh well, I mean, it's a wonderfully noble goal, but sort of, as I think we know from this, the whole startup thing is it's very difficult to do something with that absolutely huge big tent and the niche focus. Exactly. It allows you can occupy the niche, do well there, and then having learn the lessons from that, you can then expand out of it. But I think it sounds like they're a great match for Agile Ventures, because in some ways, we're not a shop that delivers solutions. What we're and this is sort of emerged from the process of talking, doing the charity jamborees and so on, is that I think what we can say to charity groups is we can have a discussion and we can help you prototype and explore the space of possible solutions. And it's not that we will magically generate the solution for you, but it's that even if the thing that gets built isn't necessarily what you wanted, that the process of going through that is valuable to explore.
Yes, and I think when this is exactly what I told them, and when we said that some of these I had three people from their organization sitting with, and they were like, yes, because you see, apart from being activists, there are also people that are in their in the starts of building their careers or building their knowledge base. So when they kind of sense that we can run this as a professional or simulated professional enterprise project, that's building their experience as well. So I think that they are very interested in that, because it's a good thing for everybody involved. Both us from Agile Ventures and for them.
Yeah, no, that sounds great. We've kind of gone off the rails of the stand-up, as you and I have a want to do. But since there's only you and I here, we're not inconveniencing other people by doing it. I guess, So is there? Let's. I mean, we'll talk more about all of this later. Is there being very specific? Are you blocked by anything? The next step is just having a next meeting with them. What's the next step?
No. The next step, I would say, is a meeting in Agile Ventures, where we can have this discussion, basically.
Right,
in a broader audience
and involve more people. Yes. So I mean, in some ways, it's almost probably premature for being a kickoff meeting. It's more like an inception meeting, which would be like sort of a brainstorming kind of, okay, let's talk about the kind of possible and get people, the juices flowing and so on. Okay, so you'll set that up, and we'll look forward to having that at some point in the future.
I love let's call it inception.
Yes, indeed.
Yes, let's set that up. So are you doing the AV
weekly
retrospective today?
We're doing weekly. Yeah. So basically, I'm off tomorrow. So at 4:50, I think I put it at 4:30 UTC, 4:30 PM UTC. Yes, it was just going for, and the AV weekly meeting, which this week I was thinking, I'll run it in the form of a retrospective, but that, like last week we just had a chat, and I'm sort of thinking that what we might do is vary the form of the meeting a few times, but and keep searching for a good space. But so
and you sent out like a template document for with questions to think about, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, cool.
Well, I'm doing it in the struggles, successes, and suggestions format that we've used successfully at Makers. Quite a lot. Yeah.
So I try to join in. I can go home earlier, and I can join in from home. It's 1700 hours or 5:30 is around when I travel home.
Right.
So it's not the best time for
me.
Okay. But I can go home a little earlier today and join in.
Yeah. Well, and we can move that in all sorts of different directions. Yes. So anything else on the stand-up theme?
No, I'm okay.
You're okay. Now. Yeah. So let's do just my part of the stand-up. It's kind of a busy day today. I guess if we do, what did I do yesterday? Yeah, there was helping, minor things with local support, pairing with Overlook, which was nice. In Belgium, I was then working a lot on, but basically the main thing I got done in the afternoon was getting the certificate. So I've released the level 2 certificates, I think, for about 12 people, and that's gone out. I mean, basically,
did you saw my suggestions on the changes?
Yes, and I made some of the changes based on your suggestions, and you'll see in the GitHub issues. There's follow up, and it's all there. I mean, the main thing is that I haven't pushed the changes out to GitHub because we've got this kind of flaw in the system, basically, that in order to get the information about the users' email addresses onto Heroku, we use Git to do that, and so that's why we ended up in trouble in the first place, is because those things that had to be committed to the Git repo in order to deploy them to Heroku so that we could send the things, they ended up going out onto the main GitHub hub thing. So there's kind of, I mean, really, I think the solution there,
to build an interface for upload.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Or I mean, ideally there'd be this bloody like edX API that we could pull the data out. That's another story. That's another story. I mean, I'm having an interesting conversation with Armando about the whole certificates. I also reached out to edX to ask them, have you got certificates enabled on Edge? And they're like, no, we're not planning to, but we'll pass the feedback on. Armando saying they're never going to. Armando saying they've got this other thing called badges at edX that maybe will supersede that. I'm saying like certificates kind of feel, although I was kind of having quite fun, playing with them yesterday, I feel like they're kind of, in some ways, sort of worthless, particularly for the bootcamp point of view. Although Armando made the counterpoint, which was that, in 169, for a lot of people around the world, it's just like having, just showing that you can do learning in English. There's kind of, they are of some value to some people. So,
hey man, I have my 169 certificate on the wall at home.
Okay. All right.
Together with some other edX certificates, just because I had some frames over.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's good to know. That's good to know. Yes. I mean, and I think so. I mean, that whole certificates thing. I mean, I can see, how we could restructure it and integrate it, and make it all happen. The interesting question is whether that's something that we want to spend time. What I'm committed to, what I want to do today, is I want to get the level 1 certificates out, and then I guess I will sort of leave things in place, and I'll be in a position to do the level 3 certificates when we need to do them in a few weeks, and then we'll come back to it rather than diving into that. So those certificates plan to do that. I'm going to try and get. I've got things related to the edX, the homework, which I think I've got all fixed. We're going to need to double check that. The midterm, which I'm going to push off by another week. We've got the. I've moved the autograders meeting this afternoon. We've got the AV local meeting. The big thing that I feel like I've failed to do is push forward on the charity constitution. I'm having this very long and interesting chat with Tony Butler, who's called Free Ranger, who's a TA on the thing. You might have, yeah. We're going into a lot of details about the directions of Agile Ventures. I think, that's going to change. It's the big thing for me at the moment is it's easy to get sidetracked refactoring parts of local support when I should be working out the exactly what form of the Agile Ventures constitution. Because maybe it's not, maybe I don't know, there's this, I'm conflicted, if you'll forgive me, I'm conflicted between rushing into something, I mean, like getting it quickly and getting Slack to give us a charitable instance, which I feel like it'll get 40 days to approve as a charity, and there's approved by Slack. So it's kind of like I want to be, I'd love to just have that happen. At the same time, if I choose the wrong format for the charity, maybe that's going to cause problems down the road. It's sort of annoying, because in software we like to we'll do it and see if it works.
Yeah, exactly.
However, with legal things and whatever, it doesn't quite work like that, and it's very frustrating. I wish I could just sort of do it and then change it later if necessary, but it's.
I have a great story about that I tell to my students. I will tell you some days about the staircase that I had to build in physical world.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. A little too agile about it.
Right. Well, I
had to tear it down. The first iteration didn't work out, But anyway.
Yeah.
It's quite funny because it is actually, we were so fortunate, but and I tell them, don't worry if you do something wrong, or if you break something, because with version control you can always roll back.
Right.
So but people are so afraid. I can't find it.
Oh, absolutely. Well, and I think that's the thing that makes the challenge of becoming a developer so hard, is because people are taught by the real world that you've got to be very careful about these things. And actually, the coding is this sort of silly putty world where you can play around with sort of stuff. Although I have my own story about developing apps for Apple, and how, you know, you sort of doing it in sort of agile way, but because of the registration process, once you've registered an app in a certain way and then screwed it up, you actually lose being able to call your app that name forevermore, and you actually can't back out, which is kind of a whole.
Yeah, that's a hassle. Yeah.
But yeah. So anyway, the other thing I've done is talked about having website one kickoff meetings. I've set a website one kickoff meeting for next Wednesday,
All right.
and to try and do a Wednesday to Wednesday sprint for website one that overlaps with a Monday to Monday sprint for local support. So I can kind of push forward on.
I noticed that you created a new channel for local support chat. Or
yes, I did. Yeah.
Isn't that a weird move? So okay, let me just tell you. In website one, we have the website one channel, that is the chat channel, and then we connect the CI messages, whatever they are, to WSO CI, which I think, you know, you should keep the local support channel to be clear of those messages and create a separate channel where those messages could be posted. If you're supposed to have two channels at all.
Well, that's, you know,
you're the man. You know, we're autonomous.
This is the thing, as my friend Dan of Makers was saying to me, that this is about, I'm a really disruptive person, and he says he means that in a good way. Is you know, Michael, the guy from Florida who came in, and he was like, you know, in this central. I mean, we've got different. You know, there's both kinds of setup, and same in Makers Academy. We've got different places where the notifications are in a separate channel or in the same channel, and I think there are pros and cons to both approaches. What I was thinking was, you know, as regards the chat, like what I wanted to do by creating the local support chat was just see, like I see see one, how many of the people in local support actually join the local support chat, which is then that gives me an indication of like how active people are, or like, you know, how strongly they feel one way or the other about the notifications. And what I worry is there's the pain of moving all the notifications to the other channel. I can avoid that by, I could rename the existing local support channel as local support CI and create like a base one. I'm just trying this different thing to see, you know, like as an alternative to kind of explore the space, and maybe it'll be really crazy. I mean, this is the interesting thing with what Tony Butler is saying, is he's saying, you know, maybe shouldn't there be consistency? Shouldn't all of the AV projects be using Pivotal Tracker, since you're trying to do sprint and agile and this and that? And yeah, you know, maybe this is the thing that ultimately is my Achilles heel, is I'm just not sure which is the right way to do all these things, and I'm just interested in exploring different ways. So let's, you know, I mean, I see this with the local support chat as an experiment, which may fail, and we may then, you know, go to use the, you know, if everybody says that's crazy, well, no, you're crazy, that doesn't make sense, then, you know, and it goes badly, then I think you can easily rename.
Although in the grand scale of things, now we've been talking about this for 5 minutes. In the grand scale of things, this particular problem is a minor one, of minor importance. But yeah, but that's us. You know, we zone in and into those details. And
yeah. Well, it's well, at the risk of spending more time on it, I mean, there's this interesting thing about, you know, somebody who's coming into a new project who makes a suggestion. And so, you know, Michael has made this particular sort of suggestion, and then we had a bit of a chat about it. And I think one of the things that potentially I've been criticized for before is just having, you know, that discussion goes on for too long, you know, and so that's one thing. So maybe like I shouldn't, you can say, oh, this is over analytical. I shouldn't be talking about it for too long. If someone makes a suggestion, you know, particularly like as a way of welcoming to the project, maybe you should just try it rather than kind of resisting their energy.
No, absolutely. I agree. I think we've spoken about this like a year or 2 years ago in a slightly different countries. I think that it's very important to accept code or accept suggestions that are perhaps not the best sometimes, but they're good enough in order to make somebody feel good. But it's a balance. I think one should, you know, consider certain things from time, you know, from situation to situation, you know, and then so if there's somebody new and they're taking their first steps in development, you know, you encourage them in one way, and if you know that somebody's becoming expert in a certain area, then you require more of him than from somebody, you know, so on an individual basis. And sometimes you just say yes to people, and by saying yes, you make them feel good, and there's a great value in that.
Oh, absolutely. Well, and of course, there's this cost balance between, you know, there's the saying yes, and then there's what's the risks associated with the change. So, I mean, the interesting thing here is what I've done is I've responded to Michael's suggestion. I've kind of I've done something slightly different from what he suggested, but I'm sort of responding it. So we'll see. I mean, maybe that's the worst of both worlds. Maybe he'll think, oh, that guy, he just like ignored my suggestion and did his own crazy thing, and he'll leave and walk off.
But Michael is the guy that is coming with a lot of suggestions right now, or comments.
He is, yeah. And he's, you know, he seems like an experienced and well-balanced guy, and I think, you know, he seems like somebody where we can have a little discussion and we can try things like, he's got one here for the website where he was saying, like, do we really need the @channel tag in the pairing notifications channel? And I think it's, I think it would be, there are extremes, aren't there? It would clearly be a shame if, you know, for every suggestion that somebody came in with, our reaction was, no, we can't do that for the reason of this, you know, and sort of, look, why even suggest that? If you knew all of the history, so there's one extreme over there, which is clearly ridiculous and unpleasant, and there's another one which is like, oh yeah, we should do that immediately, and, you know, basically immediately change. And there's kind of, hopefully there's somehow, somewhere in between, there's a happy medium where we have a little bit of friendly discussion about it, and, you know, it may be more often than not, or at least, you know, fairly frequently, we make those changes and we sort of welcome people into the community and help them feel empowered that this is a community that evolves and adapts and responds. So there we go.
Just a quick last word. I recently found, you remember I did this round little circle of activities
I remember, yeah.
I recently found that file somewhere. I try to dust that off and see if we can improve on that, and if we can use it somehow.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I think you had a lot of different initiatives like that one. There was also, you got that voiceover that was going to go with the video. I mean, there's a lot of different bits and pieces, and you getting the one that I was pulled off other things that we certainly could revisit.
Yeah, I think I have that voiceover recording someplace.
Yeah. I mean, it's in one of the tickets. I mean, I sort of reviewed it with I think there's a lot of stuff that we can revisit going forward. Anyway, so that was a special bonus. Now, the interesting thing is, do we want to do stand-ups with feedback? As we were talking about before.
Yeah, let's do feedback. Yeah.
So I'll just start. I'm open to feedback. Would you like to give me any feedback, Tom?
No.
Okay.
No. No. But you know, I am. But you know, with the risk of repeating myself from the long discussion that we had yesterday, or not yesterday, but actually a week before when we talked about some more serious things.
Yeah.
I think that first of all, I'm very happy that. But not overly happy. It's not a biggie for me. But I'm happy that you come to certain insights about yourself. I think that's a good process. You know, because you know, for good and for worse, but for bad, we need to do that all the time. And you actually, when you said those things, I was inspired to also review my own, perhaps, quote unquote shortcomings or attributes or whatever.
We all I think we all admit we all have them, and there's always room for all of us.
Yeah. So I think that's good. And you're again, as usual, a no nonsense guy, which I very much like, because that's a good quality. And you also it's also always and today, as many other times, it's intellectually stimulating to talk to you, because you are right on target. And you know, if you talk about concepts, we talk about concepts. You don't jump down to nitty-gritty technical stuff unless you exemplify a concept. Something, you know. So it's not confusing. You know, talking to you is not a confusing experience. But I
think that may be unique to you. I think pretty much everybody else finds it confusing, but maybe we're just on the same.
But perhaps just because I've been exposed to your
that forces me to tell you a story about. I think I was maybe 17, and we were going on a skiing trip, and one of my relatively close friends, we were, you know, and I was talking to him. We were walking to the airport, and someone who didn't know me quite so well was saying, "Oh my God, that guy talks really fast. How do you understand what he's saying?" And my friend turned to him and said, "Oh, you get used to it." So,
that's it. All right. So okay. So I'm open to feedback.
Okay, there you go. Right. So feedback. Well, I mean, I think I just want to say, you know, I think it's fantastic that you're here. Particularly, I know how incredibly busy you are with Craft Academy. That you're taking the time to come back in here, you know, is wonderful, and I really appreciate your contributions and help and support with the certificates thing yesterday. And yeah, I'm just really, you know, excited to be, you know, working with you a bit more closely again. I guess I've got a little bit of constructive criticism, which is, of course, could very, very easily be leveled at myself. Is one related to brevity. And so I think, you know, when I was asking you just before about the unity people, and I was saying like, oh, can you give me a little short summary of who they are? You gave me, I guess, by stand-up means, it ended up being, you know, a bit longer. And this is definitely the pot calling the kettle black, if you know what I mean. Like I am so bad. Like it's a regular thing that I receive about brevity. I've got an interesting article on that you might be interested to read. I don't know. So I think that's something to consider going forward, certainly for both of us. But you know, I hope you don't mind.
No, coming from you, it makes sense. Coming from my wife, it doesn't. So she's actually my ex-wife nowadays. So, yeah.
Well, you know, yeah.
Yeah, she keeps saying that the words that I dread coming out from Thomas' mouth is, let me keep this short.
Right.
when I start a story, you know, let me keep this short. That's when she just runs for cover.
Yeah.
For like a half an hour in a monologue.
Yeah.
Gotcha. It's absolutely. Sometimes I get tired of myself talking. But
surely not. No, Thomas.
But it's like, you know, I start to tell something, and I know halfway through that you've been at it too long. But I'm in this process of thought that I just need to finish, and then I actually stop myself sometimes from deviating. Just telling a side story here and there. But still, I'm a little, I've become, believe it or not, I'm better at this now, but than I was.
No,
before.
I believe
but
you.
Still, there's some room for improvement. So.
It's interesting because I think I have my wife sometimes when she's telling me about a movie, I notice she gets into this mode where she's basically like completely re-experiencing the movie, and she's just and I can like okay, and I'm busy working to try and be a better listener. I know I'm not a very good listener, so I'm working on it. And I try and listen to my wife, but sometimes I know when she gets into this sort of, we've been on a long plane ride, and then she's like, basically we're in the taxi going somewhere or whatever, and she's like telling me about, and it's basically, her eyes kind of go a little bit glaze over, and I can say, okay, I'm in for a sitting now. I'm not going to see this movie, and I do that. I think and from what you're describing, we do the same. Like, I was very interested in hearing what you were saying about the Unify, and it got that whole thing, and I do this. I think sometimes, like for both you and me, it's this process of us working, we're kind of like getting our thoughts in order by talking through exactly what the whole thing is. And it's a very valuable thing. And I think that probably feedback for both of us is that in the context of a stand-up, like we could have easily, perhaps today, done better in terms of running the stand-up, in terms of identifying, oh yes, let's talk about that at the end. And
or I could have told you, read the document and the previous document, because some of these questions you had were actually answered in that document.
Indeed.
But yeah, absolutely. But again, I kind of, when I was talking about the Unify, I kind of sensed that this is too long, but I couldn't stop myself, because every detail is, because I zone in on stuff, and for some reason every detail seemed important, and now when I think about it in retrospective, it's like, yeah, well, you actually gave it too much info,
Although, I mean, to be fair, I think I was interested in all of it, and I think that probably looking back, if we were doing it over again, the only thing that I would have done is I would have said, okay, let me finish my stand-up things first, and then we'll call an end to the stand-up, and then we'll have that thing at the end. But so I think it's great that you and I have been able to explore this together without other people. I mean, I think we've got 0 viewers. There's no one else in the room. It's us working through our issues. And I'm looking this way because I've got you on this screen rather than that screen, and this is eye contact. See, I'm still in trying to look towards you, and you're actually on. See, what I should have done was to here, and see, now I can like this engagement. And anyway, I think
I'm also switching. So
we get ready to call it. Okay, cool. Well, so I'm going to get on and work on these other bits and pieces, and I'll maybe see you in the
afternoon one.
Afternoon thing later.
Absolutely.
Good stuff. All right. Good talking to you, Thomas. All right. Bye for now.